Honorable Kyinyamatama, you've been in the news lately. Could you just take us through a little bit of that?
Charles, I think it was for the best reason. Because if you come out to stand against injustices, if you are fighting for a human right that doesn't belong to you alone as an individual, but to all the women of this country, then it is for a good cause.
You said the words used against you by your colleague, the Honorable Francis Zake, were words you couldn't utter out of your own mouth. But then you went ahead to ask the Speaker to play them, not just to members of Parliament, but to the world.
When something is done in the public, in most cases, in politics, it should be sorted in the public. Secondly, I had nothing to control about this video or the words that were said, because they were already on radios, they were already on TVs, some TVs and what have you. And you see that when that matter was introduced on the floor, there is no one who was disputing having heard of it. Everyone was like, oh, we heard, oh, we saw, oh my God, how can that happen? But the reason as to why I wanted it to play is because I wanted the world to know the character, the blockage of the moral fiber of some leaders in this country, and particularly that was the person who said whatever they said. So I wanted the world to see, know, witness, because sometimes it can be a false accusation. It can be an allegation, but I wanted it to be factual.
Why wouldn't you resolve that outside? You have leadership as members of Parliament representing constituencies in Buganda region. Why bring it for debate in the House?
Charles, when you see the act and the venue of the act and the intentionality of the act would really push a big debate of what a leader should look like in this country, because this was done in my constituency and it was an attack both on myself and my constituents who voted me, and actually the women out there. So this wasn't a personal issue. That's why I brought it on the floor of Parliament. It was an attack on the dignity of the women.
Let's come back to Juliet Kyinyamatama. In April 2021, you made an attempt to run for Speaker of Parliament, and then the bid fizzled out almost as it emerged. Why?
I was an independent, but had signed an MOU with the NRM, and so I wanted to run on the NRM ticket. We get there and they're like, no, however much you're now NRM leaning.
You're not NRM.
Exactly. So that's how it ended. But I also know that politics, you have to have techniques of winning. It's not a matter of just contesting. It is a matter of focusing on victory. So when you focus on the numbers in that house, it is very hard for you to win if you don't have those numbers of the NRM people. So I needed to associate, be identified with the NRM for me to continue my bid. So that's what precisely happened.
What would you have done different had you been elected Speaker of Parliament?
Not very different. I would have carried on from where I would have started, because the previous people are doing a good job and the current ones are doing a good job. But I wanted a representation of the generational leaders, because our understanding and the way of doing things is more appealing to the biggest population of this country. Not that you would do them out of the law, you would follow the law, but ownership of leadership, being a representation of the population. Because if you look at our population, 70% now is below the age of 40 years. So I was looking at an interest of having the young people or that generation also being in top governing leadership of this country, because then at the back of your mind you would influence factors that promote the standards of living of these people.